Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a PMDG beta tester. Welcome back to the 777-200ER. Now that we've seen all three versions in action, let's go ahead and have a look at the one I like the most again, and that is the Rolls-Royce powered one. So today we'll fly the British Airways 777-200ER in Flight Simulator 2024 from the awesome freeware London Gatwick scenery over to Cancun in Mexico for a typical close to 10-hour British Airways 777 holiday ride. Join me inside and we'll set our aircraft up for today's service. Now, we're going to start with a couple of the basics over here as always. That's checking that our aircraft is safe for operation, so most importantly checking the oil quantity down here, then checking for the hydraulic quantities, the APU oil quantity, oxygen pressure, and with that we can also do the oxygen test already, and that's still looking good. Alright, and then let's go ahead and do a recall here to be sure that we actually see all the ICAS messages we are supposed to see, and that's still looking good. Wonderful, so up to the overhead panel where we can turn on the ADRU and the cockpit voice recorder, and then let's go ahead and start setting our aircraft up for today's flight. We'll start by analyzing our flight plan today, and for that we are going to head over into the electronic flightback app, download the SimBrief flight plan, and here we go. So starting with some of the basics, let's go ahead and look at the en route charts. So this is what our flight looks like, and as you can see, we're departing London and departing via the southern shore of the United Kingdom. Then we'll fly across Nat Track Echo over here. Eventually we're going to cross-track Foxtrot here in the end. We'll see if we might end up having to climb or descend over there in order to get away from any traffic, but then it's going to be more or less a straight line, just about in New York oceanic airspace over here, across Florida and over to Cancun. If we look into this significant weather chart, then we can see we've got this area number 2 over here, which is moderate turbulence to level 400 that we're going to pass through on the Atlantic, and then on this side we are going to enter that area as well. And then we'll fly through this area number 1, where we've got this lovely jet stream coming from the back. So this is probably going to be a little bit turbulent. Yep, moderate turbulence to level 400. And finally, we have clear skies on the way across Florida down to Cancun. So let's go ahead and have a look into the specifics of the flight then. If we depart on time, we are going to arrive half an hour early, which is wonderful, and we can see we have lots of margins for our takeoff and landing weight. Then we can look into the airport weather, and we can see that Gatwick's got clear skies, northeasterly winds, so departing runway 8 right today, and Cancun also has beautiful weather conditions both at the moment and in the forecast. Our first alternate is Tulum, and Tulum also has excellent weather in the forecast, so knowing all of this, we can now make a decision on the fuel quantity that we want to carry today. So the minimum is 68 tons of takeoff fuel plus taxi. And as we can see down here, if we do get a bit heavier, that's not really going to use much extra. We could save like 16 minutes of flight time by using 1,801 kilos more, but I really don't see that necessary today. So all of this considered, if we take 69 tons of fuel, we should be absolutely fine, including any possible APU usage. So if we head over into the weight and balance menu, we can load the SimBrief data over here, and then precise loading please, and we can use 69 tons in here, which amazingly is only 50% of the maximum that a 777 can take. Always amazing to think about the fact that we're doing a 10-hour flight and we are still only using like half the fuel the airplane can possibly take. Just an incredible aircraft, the 777. Alright, so with that in mind, let's head right down into setting up our FMS. So it's a 777-200ER with the Trent 892 engines. Nav database is up to date. We are going to use the GPS position, route, request from SimBrief, and select And while that's loading, let's head over into the EFB and find our departure charts. So we take the parking stand and the airport charts. Now for our SID, we do have the Imvur 1 Zulu departure today. Let's go ahead and find that one while our route uplink is loading. So, Imvur 1 Zulu, ANAV departure, here it is. Perfect. Alright, very good. So, that much for our EFB selection down here. Then let's go ahead and have a look into our route. Uplink has finished by now. Speedbird 2203, Gatwick to Cancun. So, runway 8 right, Imvur 1 Zulu, and then heading over to Cancun. They did change their approach designators recently, so instead of the previous ILS 1, 2, and 3, you now have X-Ray, Yankee, and Zulu, pretty much like everywhere else in the world. I do believe it's the X-Ray approaches they're normally using, but we'll find out when we get there. So, nose at 1 Bravo arrival, and then let's have a quick look into the colleagues FMS arriving via Redux. Let's select that. Alright, so route, activate and execute. Then let's go down and cross-check everything. So we're departing via Imvur, November 6-3 Southampton, November 19 Atkick, direct Josma, direct Lulux, direct Bedra. From there we'll proceed across the NAT, we'll check that in a moment, which leads us towards Bob 2. Then Mike 203 to Janfox, direct Alobi, Mike 204 Summers, Alpha 699. I believe Papa Bravo India is Palm Beach, I might be mistaken about that one. Direct Key West, direct Kanoa, and Uniform Bravo 879 NOSAT. Alright, so ground distance is 4440 versus 4444. Very good. Then let's check our SID. So, we'll go on full screen over here. We proceed via Kilo Kilo Echo 05, maximum 220 knots between 2.5 and 3000. Then it's a left turn to waypoint 09, maximum 220 at 3000. Then waypoint 19, maximum 250 at 3000. And then Imvur, maximum 250 at 4000. Looks pretty good to me. Initial climb is going to be 3000 then. And with that, our route is checked over here as well. So we'll copy Gatwick into the fix info. And it's a 25-mile ring down here. There is nothing in the NAVRAD page. And onto the next page, wind data, load. And we'll wait until that's loaded, execute, and the same thing down here for our descent forecast. Okay, cool. So onto the VNAV page, transition altitude 6000, and it's 6000 up here as well. So onto the performance page, we can accept our downlink, and then let's cross-check all the data. So, for the fuel figures, final reserve 2.7, alternate 2.9, so that's 5.6. Like this, cruise level 360, cost NX 57, minus 44 degrees for the minimum fuel temperature, cruise CG 30, we always use that as a fixed value, and then on to the takeoff reference page. So, we'll accelerate and reduce in 1000 each, so that we have a little bit less problems with our altitude restrictions. Even though, do remember, 2,500 at Kilo Echo 05. But if the plane figures that it can't do that, it's going to alert us to it. So for this reason, we'll plan NADP 2, and then we'll see what we're actually gonna get. Well, and that's our FMS setup completed. So we'll leave it open on the perf init for the captain and the route to page for the FO. Alright, so then we go into the overhead panel, run our typical checks. Not all that much to do there, to be honest, at the moment. So, checklists, reset all, and then com page, flight information, ATIS request. And I do want Gatwick in here. It is from VATSIM sent. And we've got to wait for that to arrive. In the meantime, let's continue with the rest of our setup. And you can already have the train display down there. Okay. So, park and brake is set. Frequencies 1228, 1215. Like this. Okay, and with that, our flight deck setup is pretty much completed. The only thing we're waiting for right now is our Asus to arrive so that we get the QNH. Well, and here it comes. Perfect. So information Charlie 0950, wind 050 at 7, slightly variable, QNH 1026. Like this. Perfect. Alright, cool. So that's everything set. Then I suggest we're going to go right into the briefing. And one quick other thing that I want to do here is to actually change our aircraft config, because for some strange reason it's loaded the airplane in pounds. But here we go. This is better. Okay, cool. So everything is now set. We're supposed to go off block in 8 minutes, so let's start with our departure briefing. Alright, so we're departing London Gatwick, runway 08 right, for the Imbus 1 Zulu departure. Initial 3000, MSA is, well, 2300-ish, and we have no extra fuel. Well, about 500 kilo. For a 777, that is, no extra. Alright, thanks for that. So, for our departure, we have no hotspots for the taxi routing. It's just a pretty busy and complex airport, Gatwick. So, good look outside, make sure we don't run into anything. Now, reject the takeoff. We don't really have much stop margin today. But if we do have that engine failure, we go straight at 25 miles, pick up a holding, 3,000 feet, and then come back for an ILS approach into runway 8 right. We are going to be overweight, so time permitting, we'll take all the time we need and consider fuel dumping, though I don't deem it necessary today. We can just come back for an overweight landing as well. In general, if things have to go fast, we'll just fly traffic pattern. The weather is absolutely perfect outside with pretty much clear skies, so we'll just fly traffic pattern, come back and land on 8 right. But that's only in case we have uncontrollable fires or something like that. Alright, so I do not have anything special or non-standard. I don't see any threats for this departure as well, but the one thing that I do see is the speed restrictions. So we have 220 and 250. 250 is no problem, but that 220 over here might mean that we have to keep flaps 1 for a little bit. So just to keep that in mind, as it does interrupt our flow a little bit, since the after takeoff checklist is bound to flap retraction, all that kind of stuff. So low level of altitude here in 3000 as well. I did already program the acceleration at 1000 feet in order to make that a little bit easier. We did not get any complaints of the FMS yet, but things might change when we enter our weights. But I think that's really it for our departure. Do you have any questions on the briefing? No? Perfect. Then let's do the pre-flight checklist. Oxygen, tested 100%. Flight instruments, heading 209, altimeter 1026, reading 210, set left, set right. Pre-flight checklist complete. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of British Airways, welcome aboard flight 2203 to Paradise, Cancun. Today's flight time will be approximately 9 hours 45 minutes. We expect a mostly smooth flight, some occasional turbulence, which is going to appear due to some strong jet streams that we're going to fly through, but this is also the reason for the short flight time, so we do appreciate the weather conditions today. We hope you make yourself comfortable on board. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more comfortable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, welcome on board. Alrighty, then let's go ahead and run our performance calculations. So zero fuel weight is 173.5. And that's a growth weight of 242.5, which is checked. So zero fuel CG 28, takeoff CG is 29. Alright, let's see what we're gonna get. So Gatwick, runway 8 right. We have 3,162 meters. Quick check if that is actually correct. (3317). Huh, see, that's why it's a good thing checking this. So, 3317. Here we go, it's a dry runway, and we are going to import the weights and the weather, and then let's hit calculate. So, 53 degrees of flex temperature. That's a takeoff VPR of 1.374 versus 1.4. Yeah, that's kind of close enough. So, flaps 5 takeoff, CG 29. And that gives us takeoff speeds of 150, 154, 167. All within 1 knot, so we can take the FMS speeds. Beautiful. So then let's put the EFB away, and we'll just bring it right onto the taxi map down here. Okay, cool. So you can close up now. Let's see, ground power is already disconnected anyway, very good. So disconnect the jetway, remove all the ground service vehicles, and close all doors, please. Alright, and while all of that is happening, cabin crew, all doors in flight. So, doors are armed, chocks removed. That's looking excellent. So, ground flight deck, can we pressurize hydraulics? Yes sir, clear pressurize. Thank you, we'll call you back for pushback in a few moments. Oh man, I rolled this a little bit too fast perhaps. So 3000 initial, then we have clearance for the hydraulics, so right system first. And we do have the fuel and center message, so we will turn on the center pumps as well. Then the trim is 5.75, and while we're trimming we can already turn that transponder on. Let's just set some random squawk over here. And here we go. Okay, before start checklist. So, flight deck door is closed and locked. MCP V2 167, heading 078, altitude 3000. Takeoff speeds V1 151, VR 154, V2 167. CDU pre-flight completed. Trim 5.75 units, 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Before start checklist complete down to beacon. So, plan the pushback. Ground flight deck. Go. So, it would be lovely if you could actually show us some of those taxi lines anywhere over here, but looks like you can't. So, we'll just assume the center line is somewhere over here. Take like that. And then we'll see what's going to come out of it. Alright, cool. So we're clear to push and the park and brake is set. So beacon on, before start checklist complete. Alright, thank you. Release park and brake, please. Park and brake is released and you can start the pushback. Thank you very much. Start the push and stand by for engine start. So let's see how well I planned that pushback. I think I kind of hit the center line here with my arrow. And it starts acting. Oh boy. Why is it that every pushback tool in this sim is broken? Look at this. And this is payware, huh? If this happened to freeware, I'd say okay, but no, they took the freeware, made it payware, and then immediately dropped all support for it. Unbelievable. Alright, I suppose we're just gonna stop the pushback here when we are somewhere close to the line. Cancel. And stop. Yeah, not too bad. GSX couldn't have done any better than that. Right, so ground flight deck, we're ready for engine start, and starting both engines. That's what I love about the 777-200ER. When you have the Pratts or the Rolls-Royce engines, you can just start them both at the same time. That's so good. So, there's the fuel injection, you can clearly hear that. Alright, we have 2 good engine starts. Clear to disconnect, show me the pin on the left, please have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. So, flight controls. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. So, before taxi checklist, anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls, checked, ground equipment, clear, before taxi checklist complete. So we're clear on the right side, and we're clear on the left side. Brake is released, let's go. So our taxi routing is fairly straightforward. Around the turn, then across Lima, southbound over here, and then onto, I think it's Juliet, all the way to the runway. So let's get the aircraft out of the immediate gate area at first, and once we're clear of the immediate gate areas and on the taxiway towards the runway, then we are going to do the briefing. So that A330 is not beyond the line. Let's have a look outside here for a wingtip. But I think it's okay. Yeah, it is. Alright, then off to the right hand side over here. Oh, come on. Don't skid. It's 9 knots. Definitely shouldn't be skidding at 9 knots. So that 777 is just about beyond the line over there. That's fine. So, looks quite busy up there, getting passengers from one terminal to the other. Okay, cabin ready. So, radar, terrain. And this is gonna get expensive here. That 777 has absolutely nothing to do over there, blocking the entire taxiway. Ouch. Yeah, well, what are you expecting from Microsoft Flight Simulator, huh? Okay, so we are clear on both sides, then a left-hand turn over here. Okay, so we'll taxi all the way southbound now onto Juliet, and then from Juliet we'll taxi to the full-length runway 08 right. And I think by now we should be clear of most parts of the apron over here that we could collide with. Only collided with one aircraft. That's rather okay statistics for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And obviously we did learn one lesson over here. Asobo does reset your settings all the time, and that default traffic that they have turned on is definitely going to hurt. So, Juliet coming up next. No traffic on the road that we could run into. Very good. 757 with winglets, that just looks so odd. At least with this type of winglet, that just looked completely wrong. Alright, so we made it onto Juliet. Then let's review the takeoff briefing. It is going to be a left seat takeoff. Runway 08 right. Flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2. We did not get any alerts about the altitude, so we should definitely be able to make it. Takeoff speeds 151, 154 and 167, and the SID takes us straight ahead 4 miles, then a left turn out, and engine out, SID straight ahead for 25 miles, pick up a holding, and then we'll decide on the further course of action. Now, if you need to make an immediate return, runway 08 right is our runway, and just because we got so used to Airbus procedures over the recent time, obviously we do not have a secondary flight plan that we could activate here, so we have to reprogram the arrival. Unless it is something uncontrollable, such as an engine fire or any other type of fire that we may encounter. In that case, we are going to come back straight away with no type of FMS programming or something, just a visual traffic pattern, 1500 feet left-hand pattern, and that takes us straight back onto 08 right. Do you have any questions or suggestions? No? Beautiful. Before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so one guy is departing there, and then we've got the Air Malta A320 holding short of the runway, hopefully departing soon as well, and then it's our turn. Looks like he's on an intersection. We'll definitely go full length here with our 777. So, the Airbus is doing weird stuff. Why are you backtracking? Oh god, welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator default traffic. Okay, so all the way to the end. Where's that A320? We just don't know 180 on the runway, because, yeah, it probably needed those few meters. Very important. Good thing that we need a moment to make it to the runway anyway. So, the approach is clear. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Cutting this turn a little bit here. So, the approach area is clear. Alright, so the previous A320 is airborne. Speedbird 2203, runway 08 right, cleared for takeoff. And I suppose we're gonna ignore those lights here, so that's the second collision. That's fine. Alright, ready? Takeoff. Thrust set.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. LNAV, VNAV. Flaps 1. Speed checked. So, 7 knots in order to retract the flaps all the way. I tell you what, speed intervent. Flaps up. Speed checked. Flaps up. Autopilot. And flaps up, more lights. Vertical speed. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. Halt. So, next turn is also at 220, thereafter we can accelerate towards 250. And I think there is no traffic nearby, so let's continue that climb already. Let's say up to 6,000. VNAV and clearing those restrictions. So, thrust wrap, VNAV speed. You just got to like this airplane. 777 is just beautiful. Okay, so approaching vertical speed. Something I really like about the aircraft, if you're looking at the displays, then it reacts so incredibly slowly to those inputs. You'll see that again when we're approaching 6,000 and I'm reducing the vertical speed from 2,000 to 1,000 feet a minute. I'll do that 200 feet before, so at 4,800. That's basically the 10% of your vertical speed rule. So let's do it now. Down to 1,000 feet a minute, and now just look at how long the aircraft takes. It's really pitching very, very slowly, but that way your passengers don't feel it at all. And that's exactly what Boeing has built the airplane to do here. Absolutely smooth flying, and PMDG just mimics that perfectly. You barely see that in any add-on. Alright, so let's continue our climb here up to 10,000, and we'll go right back in a VNAV. Now the same thing again. Just look at how it pitches up. Of course it needs a little bit more pitch rate right now than it would have needed in vertical speed mode. But, again, pretty smooth flying over here. Alright, set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 62. Now, checked. Alright, you can have the weather radar, don't need any terrain on the other side anymore. Well, and with that we're up and airborne, so let's go ahead and use a little bit of that time. First of all, we'll continue the climb to level 150. So what do we have in here? Level 360 is the first, then level 370 at Bedra for the North Atlantic track, then 380 at Rafin, and later on 400 at Salim, and that's it. They want Mach point 83 for the track in 370, so let's go ahead and start entering some stuff. So first thing, Bedra at 1359, so that's basically, well, less than 90 minutes, so we can already send our clearance request. So then Bedra 0.83/370 step and insert. Then after the track at Rafin we want 380. And we do want that with econ speed. And then level 400 at Salim. Like this. Alright, perfect. So that's our step climbs entered. Then once we're above 100 we have to cross-check our North Atlantic waypoints, and with that we'd be basically done. So, reaching level 100 now. Lights off. Let's wait for the pitch to go below 7. Here we go. And signs off. Okay, cool. So, we'll continue the climb somewhere around level 200 or so. And then let's go ahead and do our North Atlantic checks. So, we're flying a cross-track Echo today. And here's the track message. So let's go ahead and cross-check all of that data. So starting in Bedra, then we have 49 north, 20 degrees west, and that checks, as you can see up here, if that stupid menu wouldn't come up all the time. And we got to cross-check that as well. So copy, index, nav data, ident. And as we can see, 49 north, 20 west is correct. Next is going to be 48 north and 30 degrees west. So copy, again, index, nav data, ident, 48 north, 30 degrees west. Then we have 46 north, 40 degrees west, which is also checked. And last but not least, we've got 45 north, 50 degrees west, which is also checked. The reason we're checking this is because we need to ensure that there is no incorrectly programmed coordinates here. Remember, at some point a human was involved in this, be it by writing the algorithm that created the database or whatever, but at some point some humans are involved. And therefore, you do want to cross-check these, just to make 100% sure that everything is actually accurate. Okay, so they want the clearance request latest 30 minutes prior to oceanic entry. For this reason, we set Bedra at 13:59, so let's create a time marker 30 minutes before that, so at 13:29. So 13:29 Zulu, and insert, and that creates the time marker on our nav display. Here you can see it. And then the last thing for us to do here is to request the weather data of our ETOPS alternates. Let's go down here, flight information, TWIP request, and we're looking for Shannon. Send. And then let's have a look into the other one on the other side. So Shannon and Gander. Yep, what are you doing? Charlie Yankee Quebec X-ray. And send. So the weather starts arriving. Let's see what we've got then. Shannon. Clear skies, runway 06. And the forecast for Shannon, it will remain exactly that way. Beautiful. So now let's look at Gander. Currently, again, very good weather conditions. So the last one, terminal area forecast for Gander. Let's see. Oh, of course, it doesn't tell us any time for which it is relevant. In the real world, you get that information. It tells you exactly. Oh, down here it is. Okay, perfect. So Gander, earliest ETA 1812. Well, that's not exactly. Ah, well. So, 1,000 to go. Let's continue our climb here. Flight level 300. Okay, so around 1800. So let's see what the weather is going to be like over then. So here we go. Becoming till 1800. Wind 120 at 12, and yeah, few clouds 3000. And from 1800, it will basically become clear skies. So Gander is very good as well. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and enter those. Shannon into here, 410 miles for our ETOPS entry point, and then 987 for the equal time point. Like this. On the other end side we need Gander, Charlie Yankee Quebec X-ray, and /410, and 852 nautical miles. Alright, perfect. With that we've entered all the ETOPS information we need, And then the last thing for us to decide is the cruise level. And for this optimum 354, I am going to disregard this recommended level down here. We'll go up to 360. Cool. And that's everything done that we could do at this point in time. So for now, sit back, relax, enjoy the flight with us, and we'll let you know if anything special happens, or latest once we start our approach into Cancun. Just left the US airspace and have entered Cuban airspace, around 100 nautical miles to our top of descent, so I think it's a good time to start setting ourselves up for the arrival into Cancun. We're going to start requesting the weather, even though we're pretty sure we know which runway we are going to use, but let's be on the safe side here. So Cancun, enter. We do want to take the weather from VATSIM, and we are going to take automatic updates whenever new weather information is released. So that was a quick one. So we've got Cancun information echo at 11:44 Zulu. Surface 09085, visibility 7 miles, clouds scattered 1500, 26 degrees, altimeter 3004. So 3004 is selected number 1. And selected number 2. Alright, then apart from that, runway 12 left it is, just as we have expected, so let's go ahead and grab our charts and start the approach preparation. So arrival charts, Cancun, and we have the NOSAD 1 Bravo arrival, which is up here for an ILS X-ray approach, runway 12 left. So for the arrival briefing, we do take the airport charts, and we need the parking charts for Terminal 4, I believe. Let's see if we can find those. Nope, not over here, but not over here. Nope. 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 Where did they hide those charts? Interesting, I can't seem to find them at all, or are they on the main airport chart? No, not really. So what's that one over here? For parking stance, C10-9 Echo. So 10-9 Echo is this one. And the information is missing. Lovely. So we don't actually have charts for our arrival. Well, that's not really gonna matter in the end, because we do have our en route charts, and we can zoom those all the way in to find our ground charts, but that is surprising. Navigraph is actually missing some charts. So here it is. That's where we are going to be parking. And we do have all that good information here. Now, in the real world, what would I do now? I'd take a screenshot of this, and then pull up the screenshot as my arrival chart. You know, sometimes you gotta improvise. Alright, in any case, that's what we need. So let's go ahead and check what we've got versus what we should have. So, on the VNAV page, we have a little slow speed here. Let's make it Mach 0.83 and 300 knots on conversion. Execute that. Forecast page, request. Then, for the fixed page, we'll take Cancun with a 25-mile ring. And we don't need any radios as far as I remember. Let's have a look at the missed approach, see if we need anything there. Nope, we don't. Okay. So, forecast uplink is here. Load. And here we go, wonderful. So then let's check our arrival routing. NOSAT 1 Bravo arrival, coming in from over here. So NOSAT is at 280 knots. And between level 200 and 220. Onto Hatcho, to 50 knots between 180 and 200. Then we have Lattice, Atmos below 14,000. On towards waypoint 500, max 220 above 8,000, 522 above 6,000, 515 above 5,000, Erdam max 200 above 3,000, and Redock at 3,000. So far so good. Then we're changing onto the ILS approach. X-ray, runway 12 left. So from Redock, Uniform November 505, 528, and 529. So out of 529, we are leaving 3,000 feet down to the final approach fix at waypoint 532 at 1400 and on a 3-degree glide slope. So that speed restriction may seem a little bit fast here. Let's change that to 160 knots, like this. Should result in a little bit better VNAV guidance. So down to a minimum of 250 feet, which we can quickly dial up. Here we go. Alright, and then in case of go around, turn left and continue climbing to the mist, on the mist approach to holding pattern at Atmos at 3,000 feet. So literally straight at 400, then to Atmos and 3,000 feet. So maximum 230 knots on the holding, as we can see on the chart over there, and that's down here in the FMS as well. And that's it. Wonderful. So 5.4 tons of arrival fuel, that's not all that much. But wait a moment, 2.5 reserves, gotta be wrong. Should be 5.4. Or is it 5.4? It's 5.6. Okay, fair enough with me. So we do end up committed to landing at our destination airport, but I'm totally happy with that. The weather is perfect, as you can see. We have 2 runways available in Cancun, so we are committed to land over there. In that case, we can change our fuel again. So the final reserve is 2.7. I do want an early warning, so like 15 minutes extra. So let's just make it, wait a moment, 2.7. Let's make it 3.7. Just to get an early warning. Okay, and that's it. So let's have a look at the airport itself. 2,800 meters available on 1-2 left. We want to vacate Alpha 3 and then right into Alpha to the parking spot. Let's go ahead and run our performance tool then. Landing en route, Cancun International, 1-2 left. Import the aircraft details and import the weather. So 5.4 on arrival versus 7.8 at the moment. That means we burn, well, roughly 2 tons. So 179.4 versus 178.9. Let's just edit that. So I tell you what, we make it easy. 180 tons. Flaps 30, aircon on. Anti-ice off, auto brake 3, no reverse credit. Well, we will be using them. But I tell you what, probably in idle, so we'll just use it like that. Weather from here, and that way we need 1,900 meters landing run, using auto brakes 3. Should be perfectly fine. So auto brake 3 is selected. Okay, and that's a flap 30 landing. Let's just, for the sake of it, calculate 25 as well and see what we're gonna get. 2 kilometers. I tell you what, we'll use flaps 25. So that's going to be 140 knots final approach speed. Okay, and that's our setup complete. So let's go into the approach briefing. Alright, so we'll fly the Nosat 1 Bravo arrival, ILS X-ray approach runway 12 left, MSA 2200 and the minimum 250. Go around is the left hand turn towards, what's it called again, Atmos. And we are permitted to land at Cancun, giving us about 15 minutes of extra fuel. Alright, thanks for that. So, what are we going to do? Flight director guided ILS approach runway 12 left, flaps 25 landing, idle reverse. Vacate the runway to the right hand side. I have no hotspots for our taxi en routing. Stop margin is about 800 meters. We've got no specials, nothing abnormal. And threats for the arrival? To be honest, none. Alright, so that's it. Descent checklist, please. Recall, checked. Notes, checked. Auto brake, 3. Landing data, VREV 135, minutes, Barrow 250. Approach briefing completed. Descent checklist complete. So then, I'll say bye-bye to our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is Sierra Captain speaking. In a few minutes we will leave our cruising altitude and start our descent towards our destination airport. The weather in Cancun, lovely 26 degrees with a few clouds along the sky. Would like to thank you very much for choosing British Airways for today's flight. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to welcoming you again on board of a future flight. Until then, we wish you lovely holidays and unforgettable memories. Thank you very much for being our guests, and we hope to see you all again soon. Alright, I'm back on, and I'd say then, let's fast forward this right into the approach. Approaching and passing 10,000, the lights have already been on since 18 for VFR traffic, and the seatbelt signs are turned on. So apart from that, the aircraft does want a little bit of drag here. Well, no, not really necessary. Only when reaching the next waypoint, that's where the drag becomes a bit more important. But I'll only start reducing that once the target speed has gone down. Otherwise, in speed mode, auto thrust might start increasing some thrust, which we definitely don't want. So we're clear to descend via the arrival all the way to 3,000 feet, and then we should start to see Cancun come into view right down here. And look at that, there's the Zona Hoteliera right for you. So I can see the Coco Bongo and the Hard Rock Cafe. Now it'll be up for you guys to guess which of the two I'll much rather visit. Put it in the comments below if you're interested. And this, by the way, is the reason I love the Nosat 1 Bravo arrival. You fly right across the Zona Hoteliera and the most beautiful part of the beaches here in Cancun. It's just an amazing arrival to fly. It's just really an amazing arrival. So let's just go back inside here for a moment. Speed has reduced nicely. Going down to 3000. And, well, couple clouds too many for a visual approach, because normally I love to fly my visuals here in Cancun, but looks like we are not gonna do that today. Again, beautiful beaches down there. Isla Mujerta is also really worth a visit. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, drag required, I still disagree. But let's go flaps 1, that way it gets a bit of drag as well. Speed checked, flaps 1. Indeed, a little bit too cloudy for the visual, which is unfortunate. Okay, in the meantime we do have a little bit of work to do. Approach checklist. Altimeters, 3004. Approach checklist complete. Okay then, let's have a little bit of fun. Autopilot disconnected. Let's do this ourselves, shall we? The 777 just flies absolutely beautifully by hand. Now, as a little fun fact, I'm flying the 777 using my Airbus side stick at the moment, because right now I don't have a proper desk available that I could mount my Boeing Yoke to. So I am flying this with my Airbus stick, and it really feels familiar, let's put it that way. You just really feel what Boeing did there, and that the airplane is full fly-by-wire. Alright, so a little bit of speed brake here to help it lose some of that speed. Let's do speed intervent 210. Okay, speed brake is going back in. So everything looks clear on the left side. Let's fly direct to waypoint 529er. And from there we can start the approach. Nope, you stay open, my friend. So we're 12 knots out, 210 knots, I think that's looking perfect. So give me a vertical speed, minus 500 here, just so that we don't level off at an earlier altitude than absolutely necessary. Approach mode down here already shows us the glide slope, while the PFD only shows it when our heading is within 90 degrees of the runway heading. Okay, approach mode is armed. So we'll start reducing our airspeed here, flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5. Come on, don't descend. That's one of the downsides of using the Airbus stick. The 777 flies a lot easier with the yoke. Lock. Runway heading 125 set. And glide slope. Go around altitude 3000 set. So, looks like I started the turn a tad early. Sometimes it would just help to trust the flight director.
Radio altimeter.
Checked. Alright, gear down, flaps 20. And flaps 25. Speed checked. Flaps 25. So VRF plus 5. Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. You can really notice how easy the 200 ER is slowing down compared to the 300 ER, which takes a little bit longer. The lower weight of the 200 ER just really stands out here. And look at that, with that shortcut we're landing now with 6 tons of fuel in the tanks, so that's pretty good, not even committed here. We could still divert to Tulum if needed. However, I really don't see that needed anytime soon. So, auto throttle off. Let's have some fun. Looks like 55% N1 is working really nicely here. So, small inputs everywhere, that's the key to flying the airplane manually and keeping it stable.
1000.
Checked. So really only a couple percent of thrust changes, if needed. So the crosswind is picking up a bit. Should still reduce until we land. So speed's checked, correcting. Now the crosswind is dropping again. Even now that we are falling a little bit short on the speed, you can see I'm not doing excessive corrections on the thrust, because excessive corrections are just really a way down the drain, and we don't want to go there, do we? So the glide slope is checked. We are within the puppy.
50 above.
Checked.
Decide.
Continue.
$100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Right onto the marker. So, speed brakes up, thruster is normal, idle reverse. $70 knots. That's the Airbus pilot speaking right there. Manual brakes. So with that, welcome to Cancun. Let's vacate to the right and then we go right again into Alpha. So down towards 10 knots for the next turn. Here we are. So let's start cleaning up. That hill is not as high in the real world, by the way. It's a little bit easier to vacate that runway in the real life. But anyway, here we are. So starting APU, lights coming off and weather radar coming off. I did already do the flaps here. And that's it. So there is no after landing checklist over here. We don't have any GSX to help us into the gate. Well, so that's it. Then let's do single engine taxi. Shut down, well, the left engine today. I was holding on there for a moment, thinking about which engine you're allowed to shut down on the 777, but I believe it was either of them. So since we only have to do left-hand turns after this, I decided I'm going to shut down the left engine so that the right engine can support us a little bit there. Something that I totally love about my PMDGs is that single engine taxi is modeled so incredibly well. So you can see, even with some thrust added on the remaining engine, as I wanted to accelerate back up to 30 knots, I barely needed any inputs. And right now, I have my hand totally off the tiller. And if you just look at the pedals down there, you can really see the plane's just going straight, exactly as it should. So, engine shutdown left, TCAS off, both are copied, let's clear both. Alright, so they are really picky on this taxiway here, that you absolutely have to go on a Echo 2. And if you just read back that you're gonna taxi via Echo, chances are the controllers are gonna freak out. They are really, really picky here that you tell them Echo 2. So just keep that in mind if you ever go to Cancun. So speed down to 10. And here we go, into Echo 2. So, look at that super nice A330 in the back there. I wish PMDG would give us an A330 of the same quality as the 777 here. But well, you can still hope, huh? So, here's our gate. Lights off, please. So here's the marshaller. 777-200 seems to be at the very front there. Down there is the text. No, I'm not gonna go to the side now. And Okay, APU running. Shutting down 2. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, so number 2 is running down. Alright, here we go. Shutdown checklist. Park and brake. Set. Shutdown checklist complete. So, let's get ourselves some ground services here. Ground ops, set the chocks, and... well, we're probably not gonna get a ground power unit here, so let's go ahead and request the jetway straight away. Now, ground services. We will get some vehicles on the cargos over here. Then door management, disarm all, and open 2 left, please. In the meantime, oil quantity is looking good. The other operating fluids are still good. There is nothing over here that would be worth noting. Alright, looks excellent. So, with that, I sure hope that you guys have enjoyed the flight. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. I'm really looking forward to it. And with all of that out of the way, thank you very much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know how you like the 777-200ER previews. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one, and if you really appreciate what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.